What's going on, guys? I made it to the top of a hill, so I wouldn't have to be out of breath when I was talking to you. Also, check this out. In the background up there, that's the observatory. So, basically, in sales, there's a few things that, well, most sales trainers get a little bit wrong. They're on the right track. One of them is congruence, being that whenever you're being congruent, that's doing the actions that are aligned with the outcome that you want, right? So, and then they talk about congruence like it's karma, like if you buy more products and are an easy sell, then other people will be an easy sell. Now, I think it's a bit twisted because it gets you buying more and more and more sales training. Good thing I don't sell sales training, right? It gets you buying more and more sales training, but it doesn't actually get you solving more and more of your problems. And the issue with that is that if you have to constantly be buying stuff to get other people to buy from you, it's not really helpful because you never get to save money and you never learn how to invest and you never learn how to manage your money. You end up bleeding money because you think you have to keep spending money when actually the rule is outflow equals inflow. So if you want customers who are easy to work with, who don't argue, who are logical, who have a high state and are capable of making good logical decisions quickly and without effort, then if you really wanted to pull in those people, you would be someone who makes decisions quickly and easily and is logical and handles all of your mental stuff that keeps you like all the emotions that get in the way, all the beliefs that get in the way of you moving towards your goals. To the degree that you handle those in yourself, you're going to be able to handle those in your prospect, but also you will pull in less and less crazy, weird, strange people on your sales calls. You'll start to attract people with more money. You'll start to attract people with better buying habits. You'll start to attract people who make decisions more simply and easily. And whenever you do that, that allows you to obviously have simpler sales calls. You don't need so many handlers, right? But when you aren't being that kind of person and you have your own fear and you get in your head about your life, about your goals, you question yourself, you doubt yourself, then you have more of that from prospects. Like for instance, if you're nervous when looking at your finances and you aren't organized in that area and you aren't confident in that area and you don't know how to handle it well, then when you hop on calls, you won't know how to handle it with a prospect and you certainly won't sound confident. So then they won't trust you to help them handle it. But if you learn finances and you learn and understand money better, then you'll handle it better. If you handle your own limiting beliefs, then you will handle theirs better because you'll understand, like, holy shit, this weird thought I had that authority had to be this way, or that I'm supposed to get fearful around the subject of money, or that when someone gets angry, that means I should get scared, right? Or that I should worry about someone hanging up on me and things like this. I'll go down this road. This is a nice road. So instead of having all that stuff pop up, you can be confident, calm, and you don't have to get in your head about anything. You can be a lot more poised and certain on calls. And it's whoever is most certain on the call wins. And when you're fearful, well, your fear wins, because then they take on the fear. When you're uncertain, they're uncertain, right? Whenever you don't know everything about your product, then they aren't sure about the product. Whenever you don't know a lot about the industry, then they become self-conscious that you know what you're talking about. And you can feel it, and you probably have that fear when you hop on calls with sophisticated prospects, because you yourself are not sophisticated. So you don't know how to talk to them. You don't speak their language. And because you don't speak their language, well, imagine going to China and how difficult it would be to try and speak to people there if you only spoke English, right? So look at how difficult it is to speak to prospects. That's why you have to keep learning handlers, but you never learn how to communicate. And you have to keep learning scripts and skills and ways of handling objections instead of handling the thing that created the objection, which was the fact that you didn't know what you were doing in the first place. And you were pretending to be a trusted advisor when you actually didn't know anything about running an e-com business, or you didn't know anything about helping plumbers grow their business with marketing. And because of that, they feel your uncertainty. We got a big jump here. Hold on. Let's go down together. Oh. That's a big jump. See, look, big jump for a big boy. And because you're uncertain about what you're talking about, you just have to go off the features and the benefits, hoping that when you talk about your product, it resonates. But you don't understand why it would resonate. You don't understand their specific problems. You just understand that they have a problem. And all of your scripts are built on, oh, fucking squirrel. Oh, this dude's chilling out with me. Look at the little squirrel. Where'd he go? There he is. Right there. Look at the little guy. All right. And he wants to learn sales too. The sales squirrel. It's our new mascot. But because you don't have a base understanding of who you're talking to, like you don't understand, if you're selling to financial professionals, you don't know what all the licenses are. You don't know what it's like to get licensed as an insurance person and then have to do your continued education CE, which I believe you have to do every 2 years. You don't know what it's like whenever you're trying to get licensed in a new state, and because you can't get licensed, then you lose a deal, and then you have to call up somebody else and have to split the commissions, but you can't because you're not licensed in that state. So if you were selling to financial professionals, you wouldn't know what that's like. You wouldn't know what it's like to lose deals because you never got to understand their market. You don't know what it's like to be a contractor, and whenever you're trying to sell to contractors, you don't understand why they distrust you. You just know that they do, and that they think it's all bullshit, but why do they think it's all bullshit? You never find these things out. You don't get to know your market like a marketer. You get to know your market like a salesperson. And because you don't get to know it like a marketer, which a marketer is just somebody who can sell by understanding the market so well, they never have to hop on a sales call with them. Marketers sell $1,000, $2,000 products. I have a friend, he sold a $1,750 product from a webinar successfully, and I'm assuming profitably, and he didn't need a sales rep. We were there to sell the 5K thing, but you know what? He probably could get decent conversions upselling through systems and marketing. So you have to outperform any level of marketing that your marketing team does whenever you are doing that, because you'll eventually get replaced with AI, some AI sales rep, or some sales rep that'll take a cheaper rate because you can't perform. You don't understand the market. So why pay you so much, right? You lose deals because you get in your head. And that's the other thing is, because you're losing deals, then you yourself are not good at handling opportunity. So then whenever you'll attract people who also are not good at handling opportunity, meaning whenever they're given an opportunity to buy something that will help them, they don't handle it correctly by buying. That would be the appropriate thing to do. But instead they fumble it just like you do, right? So if you really want to make more money in sales, it's not just about the skills and the scripts. The skills and the scripts actually get better the more you understand your market. Because if you knew what the fuck you were talking about, no one would have to tell you what to say on calls. They might teach you how to ask questions. Like, I was working with one of my clients. She's really good skill-wise, like she's really pleasant to be with on calls. we worked on that first. But then we're going through and she's like talking to prospects who are in their 50s and 60s. And these people are the think about it kind of people. My grandmother just sent me a message about my last video. Let's see what she said. But because she didn't understand what's going to get him to buy, the thing that's going to get an older guy to buy without thinking about it is urgency towards his retirement. And so the only thing to ask is, what's your retirement plan? And it's usually nothing, right? Most people don't have a retirement plan, it's very little. And if you do the actual math with them, which you'd have to understand how to do math, then you can actually see that there's no way they're going to hit their targets in time. And because of that, that's why they have to buy from you. Otherwise, there's no way they're going to make money and be able to survive at the degree they want to. I'm going to cross the street. So, hopefully that makes sense. And then she wouldn't close the deal. And the handler was like this: how much, or what's your retirement plan? Well, I don't really have one. Okay, well, do you know how much you need to save for retirement? No. Okay. How much do you have saved now? Probably 10, 20, 50 grand, whatever it is. Which at 60, that's bad news, man. And then you go from that and you ask, okay, so if you have nothing saved up, how much do you want to get paid from your retirement when you retire? And they'll say like 20, 30 grand a month. This guy was a 220K a year earner. So he wanted to earn that much in retirement. But then I was like, okay, but we have to adjust for inflation. You want to retire 10 years from now. I don't know what inflation is right now. From what I've understood, it's been like 7% a year. But if you want to retire and count inflation into that equation, then you need to probably double it, right? So that's what we did. We increased it by 50%, right? And when we increased it by 50%, now he has to make 37 grand a month, which was like probably right under 400 something a year, probably somewhere around there. So he has to make 400 a year. That's what he has to get paid from his either, it could be an annuity, it could be it doesn't matter the vehicle. You could do an annuity calculator live on the call with somebody. Okay, cool, you want to have 30 years of cash and you want to get paid 400 grand a year. Okay, cool. So let's say it's 20 years of cash, and then you have to have enough in there to where there's some left over if you want to leave it for your kids. And he's like, holy shit, there's no way, because it came out to 9 million. I did a little bit different math. I just did 37 grand times 12 times 20 years. For him, it was like 37 years or whatever it was. Came out to $9 million bucks, right? Well, you take the number and then you divide by 0.03. That's if you pay yourself 3% of your net worth every year, or 3% of your investments every year. And if your investments grow at 8%, then 3% gets put into your pocket, and then the 5% is your growth every year. So that ensures that your money grows every year, even though you get to get paid very handsomely. So he needs to have 9 million bucks in the bank or in the S&P 500, and then he would draw from that every year. So that's the math we did. And then in the drill we were doing, obviously it's holy shit, that's a lot of money. I never thought about it like this. And then you ask him, well, does that seem reasonable? Does that seem true to you? Like, or do you think I'm just blowing smoke up your ass? And he's like, yeah, no, I've just never done the math. And I'm like, yeah, so, and that plan is based on if you wanted to leave money over for your family, they would be left with like 9 million bucks or however much it would be at the end of your life. So you'd have a legacy, because he wanted to sell his business. He didn't want to hand it off to somebody else because he didn't have anybody else in the family he think would want it. So then, now he needs to grow his business to be worth $9 million when he sells it. And it's worth maybe $100,000 today. So, maybe $200,000, whatever it was. So now that he knows he has to sell his business for that much, then it expands the problem and the goal and the gap so much that he has to get help. But because you're the one who showed that to him, you were able to point out that problem to him, then he trusts you to solve it. Because nobody else asks him these questions about his business, right? So that's pretty much how you handle old people on calls. Any of them, anybody over the age of 50 or even 40, they're thinking about retirement. And they're gonna wanna think about it, and then you gotta give them the whole, well, you've been thinking about it your whole life, and it's gotten you to a point to where you're at zero. You have no money in the bank, right? And you're not prepared for retirement. And that's a scary place to be, right? So then they're gonna be like, holy shit, I gotta make a change. And that's it. Now it's different for a 25-year-old. This is why you gotta understand your market. 25-year-old wants cars and status and money and watches and shit like that, stuff that doesn't really matter. They aren't thinking about legacy. You know, some of them are, but like 10% of them maybe. So you gotta take into account who you're talking to and what the market wants, because not everybody is the same, right? So that's pretty much it for today. So I will talk to you guys later.